Good morning everybody watching this match. My name is Aurélien Laurent from the Corax Foundation. Today we'll have a match between two teams who are entering the day 2 of the group phase. They will be debating on a topic which is connected to space law. They received the topic 1 week ago. And the two teams, one is in Czech Republic, one is in France, and they will be, of course, introducing themselves in a few seconds. And first, we want to as well to greet the judge who are giving their time for this competition, for assisting the match, including this one. So many thanks for your time. It's very important, of course, your feedback, and we are very happy to see there are quite extensive feedback this year as well. So now I will give the floor to the two teams for introducing themselves. So we start first with Miss Kristina Bolova in Masaryk University.
Hello, I'm Christina, and I'm in the first year of Masaryk University Law School.
Welcome. In Paris, we have as well Miss Émilie Dietmar. Welcome.
Hi everyone, my name is Emily Dittmer. I'm a third-year law and economics student at Pantheon-Sorbonne, and I'm looking forward to debating this topic today with you.
Thank you. Welcome. We have as well Mr. Tomasz Neugebauer. Welcome.
Hello, good morning to everyone. I'm the fourth-year student at the Faculty of Law of Masaryk University.
Welcome. And we have as well Mr. Velev in Paris.
Good morning. My name is Martin, and I'm a third-year law student at the University of Paris 1, and I wish good luck to everyone.
Thank you. Welcome. And we have as well Miss Karina Shuchankova. Welcome.
Hi everyone, so I'm in my fourth year in Masaryk University Law School, and I'm very grateful to be here today to have this debate with you, and good luck everyone.
Thank you. And finally, Miss Meghna Maboubani in Paris. Welcome.
Hi everybody, nice to meet you. My name is Meghna. I'm in my third year of history and law in the University of Paris, and I look forward to debating with you.
Thank you. So I mentioned as well that there is a coach who is supporting the team in Brno, in Masaryk University. So we send greetings to Professor Martin Svech. And of course, we send greetings as well to the World Student Association, ELSA, Paris, and Pantheon-Sorbonne, supporting the students, and who have as well made it possible through the president, I think, within the room. So now, the topic which has been sent to both teams a week ago was a mandatory international dispute resolution mechanism should be established to address conflicts arising from commercial space activities. So now we'll see which position they will have, the two teams. I'm checking one thing. Yes, it's okay. Up. So normally you should see my screen with the double flags and logos of your institutions. There is one chance to be in favor, one chance to be against the motion, and the team will be in favor, will be starting the match. So now I activate the randomizer. So Paris and Pantheon-Sorbonne University will be against the motion. As a consequence, it means that Masaryk University will be in favor of the motion and will be starting the match with the first introduction. So it means concretely, Masaryk University will be defending the position that a mandatory international dispute resolution mechanism should be established to address conflicts arising from commercial space activities, while Paris 1, Pantheon-Sorbonne University will defend the position that a mandatory international dispute resolution mechanism should not be established to address conflicts arising from commercial space activities. So now you will have 5 minutes to review your notes, and then we'll start with the introduction by Masaryk University. So we are done with the 5 minutes of preparation. So I stop sharing my screen. Before we start with the introduction by Masaryk University, I want to remind that when you see the yellow card, it means that you still have 30 seconds and you can continue to speak. And when you receive the red card, it means that your time is over, the speaking time is over. You may finish the sentence you were having, but not start a new one. Otherwise, the judge will be penalizing you, possibly. So now I will give the floor to the team from Masaryk University for your introduction. You have 4 minutes.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. I will start in 3, 2, 1. Honorable judges, organizers, and esteemed colleagues, I stand before you today in support of the motion that a mandatory international dispute resolution mechanism should be established to address conflicts arising from commercial space activities. As space exploration and commercial activities in space advance at an exponential rate, with private enterprises playing a more dominant role, it is imperative that we establish a framework to address disputes fairly, efficiently, and in a manner that fosters continued growth and sustainability in the sector. The Outer Space Treaty is currently the foundation of international space law, and it functions on a principle that only states shall bear international responsibility for national activities in outer space, as stated in Article 6 of the OST. However, this treaty was drafted in 1967, which was a time when only states were involved in space activities, which is not the reality anymore. Today, private companies are at the forefront of innovation in space, and the legal frameworks that govern space activities are struggling to keep pace. The current system, though a product of its time, is slow, rigid, and politically influenced. It fails to adequately support the needs of private companies engaged in space ventures. We need a system that is flexible, functional, and tailored to the modern needs of private entities and their legal relationships. We will present 3 key arguments in support of this motion. First, a wider circle of liable subjects. Second, promotion of innovation. And third, fostering cooperation. To expand on our first argument, currently companies involved in space activities have 2 options in the event of a dispute. They can either be represented by their home country, which often turns the dispute into a political issue, or they must go up against the government, which puts them at a significant disadvantage. When a company seeks government intervention, the dispute often becomes politically charged, leading to prolonged cases and strained international relations. Companies in these situations are forced to act based on political considerations rather than business needs. Alternatively, if a company chooses to handle the dispute independently, it stands against the government, which is able to impose sanctions, fines, and regulations, making it nearly impossible for the company to reach a satisfying settlement. This results in the companies being in an imbalanced, disadvantaged position should they need to take legal action or be sued, and makes it more difficult for them to do what companies want to do in the first place, make profit. Regarding our second argument of promoting innovation, it is well known that space holds immense potential to provide vital resources, stimulate economic growth, and even contribute to solving global challenges such as climate change. However, legal uncertainty in the space sector stifles investment and innovation. Companies hesitate to take risks without clear dispute resolution, fearing high legal costs. To elaborate on our third argument, in other industries with established legal frameworks, companies can collaborate more effectively, sharing resources and knowledge. In space, however, the absence of a natural dispute resolution system forces companies to view one another as competitors rather than potential partners. This not only hinders innovation, but also limits opportunities for joint missions, shared technologies, and broader industry progress. We can learn from other areas of law, such as maritime law, which have successfully implemented clear, neutral mechanisms for dispute resolution. The United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea created a legal framework that allowed for cooperation between states and companies, fostering a stable global market. Space law needs a similar solution to ensure that the sector stays dynamic and open to collaboration. If we want space to be a place of opportunity and progress, we must address the shortcomings of the current system. A mandatory, neutral, and independent dispute resolution mechanism will protect innovation, foster cooperation, and provide the legal certainty needed to enable growth. Without such a system, legal battles will continue to drain resources and hinder progress in the space sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we hear the introduction from the team from Paris 1 Pantheon-Sorbonne University. You have 4 minutes.
Can you see me and hear me?
Yes.
I'll begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Esteemed judges, respected opponents, the debate team of Pantheon-Sorbonne does not believe that a mandatory international dispute resolution mechanism should be established to address conflicts arising from commercial space activities. Before we get into our arguments, we must define commercial space activities, and this definition is complex. There is a narrow definition that considers where private companies instead invest their own capital and primarily serve other private entities to define commercial space activities. A broader view includes services like GPS, where, of course, private companies do allow consumers to be equipped with GPS, but the satellite signal, is provided by the government. An even wider definition includes companies serving mostly government customers that aren't truly commercial, since they depend on government funding and risk sharing. We will thus be concentrated on the narrow definition of commercial space activities. While the commercial space sector is undeniably growing, it is important to recognize that the current international legal frameworks already are equipped to address the key challenges posed by space activities. Treaties such as the Outer Space Activity from 1967, or the Liability Convention of 1972, adopted in the General Assembly of the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs, as well as the Registration Convention in the same organ from 1973, already provide a solid foundation for governing space activities, including responsibilities for damages, as well as disputes related to space objects. The Liability Convention already provides the fact that a launching state shall be absolutely held liable to pay for compensation for damage caused by its space objects on the surface of the Earth for the faults in space, or even to the aircraft. Procedures for these settlements and for the settlement of claims of damages are already in these treaties and conventions. In addition, more recent guidelines, such as the UN Space Debris Mitigation Guidelines of 2007, although not legally binding, of course, provide a widely accepted range of recommendations to reduce the risk of satellite collisions. So these treaties have successfully guided international space law for decades, for over 50 years, and allow a certain flexibility, which is absolutely undeniably one of the key strengths of the system we already have in place. Moreover, many commercial space disputes are already being resolved through private means, such as commercial arbitration, and without the means of an international court or binding system. For example, cases like the Skywaves dispute. The Skywaves dispute is a South Carolina corporation that develops technology for wireless communication industries. So Skywaves, this dispute was actually helped in its resolution by the International Telecommunication Union. And it shows how international institutions can play a role in, for example, satellite communications and orbital slot allocations. There are existing mechanisms, international institutions that are working effectively to address commercial space-related disputes, and imposing a mandatory dispute resolution system could undermine the flexibility and efficiency of these private sector solutions. National laws, such as the U.S. Commercial Space Launch Competitiveness Act from 2015, also provide a framework for dealing with these issues. Imposing a mandatory international dispute resolution system at this stage could lead to unnecessary complexity and bureaucracy. Our opponents said that our actual legislations cannot keep pace, but they should not, because a mandatory dispute resolution mechanism might overstep its bounds in commercial matters that are best handled through private arbitration and national courts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are moving now to the first rebuttals. I give the floor to the team from Masaryk University for the first rebuttal. You have 2 minutes.
Am I visible and audible?
Yes, both.
Great. Dear everyone, the side of proposition wants you to believe that the system that has been here for 50 years will be flexible in such a dynamic industry the space industry is. But that isn't the case, and let me tell you why. Firstly, I will talk about how being represented by the country isn't actually something you want to be as a company. So, what happens currently if a dispute arises, you can be either represented by a country, or you can be you can come into the dispute as a company, but you will likely go against the country, which is a big problem for us. Firstly, what happens when you are represented by the country? The disputes will take so much time. Let's take, for example, Boeing versus Airbus, where Boeing was represented by US and Airbus by EU. This case was about aerospace technology and aerospace law, and it became heavily politicized because it was of strategic importance. What happened between the sides was that the countries was trying to take leverage on each other, and this case lasted 16 years to be resolved, and had to be resolved shortly because China was coming into power, and they had to resolve the case. But it took 16 years, and imagine what happens to the company when it's represented by such such a country and becomes politicized. You lose money to innovate, and you lose money to actually be a big company. So what happens in a world of opposition is that in a space where we have more commercial companies, you can't really innovate, you can't really make anything new because these disputes become heavily politicized. Or you can, of course, you come into the play as your own company, and you can go against the country. But this position of power is now not narrowed. What happens is that the country has ways in order to actually be stronger opponent to you, and therefore you won't be able to win this case because you are competing against not an opponent of your own power. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor as well for the first rebuttal to the team from Paris 1 Pantheon-Sorbonne University. You have 2 minutes.
I will start in 1, 2, 3. So first of all, the problem with your argument is that there will be no global government to enforce these rulings. So countries will always protect their own businesses, and there's always this political dimension that will be present either ways, even if it's if we have these dispute resolution systems or not. And many countries, they ignore already existing space treaties. So why would we just add another bureaucratic layer to businesses that they can choose to ignore whenever they want? Then we think that the already existing dispute resolution mechanisms, such as contracts, negotiations, and arbitration, are good enough and well established, because there are companies that sign contracts that outline dispute resolution, for example, SpaceX and NASA agreements on liability, and many industries rely on private arbitration, which is more flexible and less slow than a global court. And I think that suits your argument that it actually would take too long if a company is represented by its government. And so in that sense, arbitration would be good. And on the other hand, we have the Avanti Communication Group versus SpaceX in 2018 that was settled through arbitration in New York, and that already proves that a mandatory system would force businesses to a rigid framework that may not fit every case. And the other problem, as we already mentioned, is bureaucracy that can delay missions or that can kill innovation.
Thank you. Now we are moving to the second rebuttal. We hear the second rebuttal by Masaryk University. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. We have to realize two things. Firstly, the space is changing. So what the side of proposition is working with is a system that was here for countries to go with their national programs, with their national space programs, which isn't the case. Now we have commercial companies that we have to deal with the disputes. So it's not the company, it's not the state being represented by the state, but it's the company represented by the state, which we believe is a wrong solution for the space law. Secondly, we are not adding any bureaucracy. We are actually reducing it. What happens in our world is that we do with the same thing that happened with the maritime law. So when UNICL came in action, what happened was that that the companies weren't represented by the countries anymore, but they were able to deal with their own disputes. So what happens in our world is that we have our own lawyers, as in the company, that can deal with the dispute. They can have that can deal with the other company, which makes it much more effective. So what happens in current world is that the company is represented by the state that has to deal with other state representing other company. What happens in our world is the company dealing with other company, and this helps us innovating. This has helped international cooperation between the companies, and therefore we can even innovate more. Why? Because what happens now is that the companies don't really have a clear case of how they will deal with the disputes. Therefore, they don't really cooperate with each other because they don't know how they would deal with the dispute that might arise. But what happens in our world is that we give you a clear solution, such as happened with maritime law. And what we do is that we give a straightforward legal framework to do what happens when a dispute arises. This gives us more space for innovating in space industry, which is crucial for us in order to actually solve maybe climate crisis, because it shows that climate crisis might be only solved by some materials that we can take only from space, and this can't be done with national space programs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we hear the second rebuttal as well from Paris Pantheon-Sorbonne University. You have 2 minutes.
Can you hear me and see me?
Yeah.
Perfect. I'll start in 3, 2, 1. Well, I'd first of all like to address that you mentioned innovation and private enterprises or companies. Well, commercial and private dispute resolution is usually handled under standard international arbitration or domestic court litigation frameworks, rather than public international law firms. So pretty much the international arbitration has established itself as the de facto way to resolve space disputes. And I agree with you that there's more and more debris flying out there, and private companies are more and more present. I mean, a recent study found that an overwhelming 89% of known space-related disputes are arbitrated in recent decades were between private companies, predominantly in the satellite industry. So it is a clear fact that private companies are more and more present, but they prefer arbitration rather than a rigid legal framework. So we can therefore illustrate that companies turn to contract-based arbitration to resolve these technical disputes that often span over multiple jurisdictions. So it might be very difficult to regulate or proceed by enforcing a legal framework. I mean, we can present the case of the European satellite operators SES and Eutelsat that illustrates that perfectly. So you also mentioned innovation, and we therefore believe that private companies prefer flexibility. I mean, we can thereby foster innovation, whereas a mandatory system undermines sovereignty and slows down commercial innovation.
Thank you. So now we are reaching the conclusions. I give the floor first to the team from Masaryk University for your conclusion. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Am I visible and audible?
Yes, you are.
All right, thank you. So the current system for resolving disputes in the space industry is simply broken. The companies are forced to either rely on their governments, turning commercial conflicts into political battles, or fight alone, facing overwhelming legal and financial burdens. This leads to prolonged disputes, political tensions, and lack of corporate autonomy. Just for example, the case of Boeing versus Airbus, the case dragged for 16 years, not because legal complexity, but because it became a geopolitical tool. New institution could be more effective in resolving these disputes with its own mechanisms, and it would simply work better. On the other hand, the consequences of the current system inefficiency are severe. Innovations are stalled, investments are discouraged, and companies lose millions in legal battles instead of pushing technology forward. The space holds the key to new resources, economic expansion, and solution to climate crisis. Yet we are slowing the progress with outdated legal structures. As we can see from the history, it is clear that neutral dispute resolution framework leads to cooperation and market stability. For example, the UNCLOS transformed the maritime law, ensuring shared access to resources and thriving global trade network. The same can and must be done for space. Without a structured mechanism, we risk turning the next frontier of human progress into a battlefield of endless disputes. If we want a future where space is thriving, we need cooperative industry rather than a political chessboard, and we must act now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we hear the conclusion as well from Paris 1 Pantheon-Sorbonne University. You have 2 minutes.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are.
I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. I'd like to begin my conclusion by stating the Outer Space Treaty of 1967. The Outer Space Treaty says that space and space activities are part of the province of all mankind. Does this mean that space is a commodity? If it does that not mean that the Outer Space Treaty and the other conventions that were starting to be taken by the United Nations Office of Outer Space Activities from 1967 onwards were not made in an entrepreneurial spirit? And is really more and new regulations on commercial space activities going to hamper innovation? Or is it going to encourage innovation? Do we not usually say that the spirit of entrepreneurial freedom and the idea that was around the Outer Space Treaty in 1967 was the freedom to appropriate space in peaceful ways? Flexibility has to be privileged over bureaucracy. Making new laws does not mean that they will be effective. Proving liability in space is all the more difficult than it is on Earth. Innovation is not synonymous of freedom either. Liability is hard to prove, and from there on, having space activities that are regulated by an international framework is not going to ensure that they're going to be better handled than in the private sector. We must hang on to whatever flexible measures we already have in place, rather than making new ones whose restriction and power upon the member states, or states that will adhere, who in fact do not even have to, might not even respect.
Thank you. So we just heard the conclusion. So we heard the 2 conclusions. From now, the 2 teams are not under evaluation by the judge. So you can rest, you can relax a little bit, because the match is done now. We are in the post-match phase of the session, and we'll be asking for your impressions and opinion on this topic, preparation and performance of the 2 teams. And after that, we'll be doing a bit of networking. So I will start asking first Miss Kristina Bolova, what did you think about the match, the debate, the topic, and the performance of the teams?
I actually enjoyed this quite a lot. I really liked the theme and emotion. I didn't know much about space law, but I actually got to know a lot, and I really liked the preparation for the motion for the debate, because it was a very interesting theme to explore.
Thank you. Miss Maboubani, what do you think about the match, the performance of the teams and the topic?
I highly enjoyed this specific topic. I was looking forward to this match because I find the topic very, very interesting. Space law is one of those legal frameworks that are just so hard to grasp, because it's much like AI in the sense that it's very rapidly growing. And I feel like when it comes to debating this, we kind of leave our our field of study in a way, because we immediately become politicians. It's a very political issue, and I found that very interesting because it keeps me out of my usual legal analysis, if I may say.
Yep.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Mr. Neugebauer, what do you think about the match?
I think it was a great match. I really liked the arguments that the opposing party presented. They were really good. And as for the topic, yeah, it was really interesting. I think that at first we kind of struggled to kind of find what the motion was really speaking about and what we wanted to present. So actually, if I can say like the fun fact, until like yesterday we had like a plan what we wanted to present, and then we were talking about it again, and we found out that we have to change the whole strategy because it just doesn't suit. So firstly, it was a kind of difficult to grasp, but when we found out what it was about, it was really rewarding to debate about it, and I found it really interesting, and it was again something new for me. So yeah, that was good.
Thank you. Mr. Velev, what do you think about the match?
So first of all, I would like to congratulate everyone. I think we were both equally well prepared, although your colleague was saying otherwise, but I think that was not the case. Then I would say the topic was really interesting because I personally like commercial law, so it was really interesting to consolidate that with public and space law. And because space law is also very innovative, I think it was really interesting, and it's really good for people that are curious and that like to go further than the studies they already do at university. So I thought that was really nice, and yeah.
Thank you. Miss Sushankova, what do you think about the match?
Well, firstly, I would also like to congratulate our opposing team. I think they did an amazing job, and some of their arguments were really even expanded further on what I thought of before. Regarding the topic there, I feel like there's not much else for me to say. I agree with everyone that I think the topic is very important to us, and I also wasn't that well educated in it before this debate, so I'm very happy that I could learn more.
Thank you. Miss Dietmar?
Well, I completely agree with what Magna said and what everybody else said, that pretty much it helps you to leave your usual fields of study, and you can do further research on topics that are very up and coming, and well, it is a highly interesting subject, and there's not that much written about it yet. I mean, there are a lot of opinions, etc., but it's still very new. And so it was incredibly interesting researching that and being able to debate that with you guys today. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. So for this match, of course, that was on space law and, as you mentioned, commercial law. In 2 weeks, you will be in the day 3 match, so against the last team you did not have match with in your group, Group G. And that will be on international trade law. And that will be the area of law. Of course, you will know exactly your topic a week in advance. So, concerning this match now, we are moving to the very last part of the session. The session is more to know how, let's say, do you prepare, do you watch some other match, have you watched some other match, and as well, yes, have you had any contact with other teams, and do you get inspired by maybe the style from other teams? So we'll ask, of course, to each team those questions. So I will start with Masaryk University. Did you watch any other match? Did you get in contact maybe with previous participants? So Ms. Bolova.
So I personally just watched a few rounds, but not exactly with the team of Sorbonne. I watched a few just from last year just to find out how it is actually works and how the whole debate looks like. But no, we did not get in contact. We just like worked with my team from Masaryk University to find the best strategy.
Okay. Same question for the team from Paris. Did you watch other match? Did you get in contact? I know that, by the way, because now I remember, 2 or 3 years ago, the team was in the Master of Law and History and Law in Sorbonne, the previous team from Paris. And I remember the name of the program. But yes, did you watch some other match, Miss Dinmar or Mr. Velev, Miss Baboubani?
Yeah, we watched previous matches from last year to familiarize ourselves with the structure and time management, etc. So that was very helpful, and it was also very interesting because the topics were also incredibly vast and interesting. So we watched the one from the University of Lusaka and further other matches. So that helped a lot. And we pretty much did the research we did the research ourselves, and we just exchanged just us three and helped each other out. So it was pretty much just us three discussing the different topics.
One thing as well I want to add is that, of course, you don't feel it at this moment, but match after match, there is a progression. It's maybe, if you watch, for example, University of Lusaka in their first match and with University of Lusaka in their semi-final, that is a totally different team, because simply, the feedback from the different judge, so each time you have 3 different judges, and they are implemented, and this helps as well for the cohesion of the team as well. So this match, of course, if you compare to the first one, I'm sure that you can see some improvement, but that will be even more after the third match and as well in quarterfinals, etc. So it is something that we notice ourselves as organizers, because we see all the matches, as you can imagine, and we see, of course, the progress and the progression for every team, and in terms of strategy, argumentation, and some inspiration from different teams as well. So now, various question for each team. If you want to thank someone or several persons, who would that be? I mean, those persons who are supporting you or encouraging you during the competition. So we start with the team from Paris. So Mr. Velev, for example.
So I personally want to thank my teammates, because that's the most important part of this journey, because they really helped me and I helped them, so it's a collaboration. And I think it was really nice working with them this far, and I look forward to work with them in future projects, or also for the semifinals or maybe final. We'll see about that. Then as of outside people, to be honest, I usually don't really speak about such things, because I like to keep stuff on the wraps before announcing too much. So for now, it's only my mom that knows, and she fully supports me in everything I do. So that's really nice to have. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Baboubani.
Yes, the first people that come to mind are my teammates, because we learn so much from each other. I mean, Martin is very quick and sharp. Emily is very poised when she speaks, and when you combine the two, it's excellent. And so it's a pleasure working with them. I love working with them. Of course, my parents, they are very interested in everything that I do, and so I have to give them at least 4-page documents and exposés about what I'm doing and where I'm doing it and why I'm doing it. So they're very, very supportive. And I have to say many thanks to also my friends who watch them online, who have asked for the YouTube link so that they can see what I've been saying. So it's very heartwarming.
Thank you. Ms. Dinmar?
Well, I completely agree with what everybody said. First of all, I'd like to thank my team. I mean, without them, this wouldn't be possible. And also my parents for always having my back and supporting me in whatever I do. So 100% these first of all come to mind, and I'm very thankful to have this support system and to be able to participate in this debate with you guys.
Thank you. Same question now in the team of Masaryk University. So who would you like to thank? who are supporting you, encouraging you. Start with Mr. Neugebauer. Sorry for the pronunciation. I hope it's correct because I said this several times. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. So first of all, I would like to extend our thanks to our coach, Mr. Schwetz, who's really supportive and very knowledgeable about each of the topics that were brought. So he's really good guide to us, and he's always good to kind of aim us into like the correct direction, let's say. And I would also like to thank my teammates, because I think all of us really bring something to our strategy and to the whole debate competition. I think each of us is very important in our team. And if I were to thank someone outside of the competition, I would like to extend my thanks to my partner, who really supports me in, for example, when I have to prepare for competitions such as this. She takes some of the obligations that I have, and yeah, we really work good together. So yeah, that's that. Thank you.
Yes, Miss Bolova.
Yeah, so of course my teammates, they're great support, and I think we work together really well, that we can we understand each other, so it's really good to work with you guys. I also would want to thank Mr. Schwetz, Dr. Schwetz, because he always helps us and he always gives us really good insight in the theme. So that's really great. And also my parents, who are supporting me and who always supported me and always want to find out what I do and why I do that. And also my partner, of course, although we are long distance, he always tries to support me and tell me how great I am and that I can do it, and it's really great.
Thank you. And Miss Sushankova.
So I would also like to thank my teammates, first of all. I think our cooperation is improving throughout the competition, and I'm really grateful for our team. I also want to thank our coach for all his help, guidance. And from my personal life, I want to thank my mom, who even watched the first round of my debate, even though she's not that good in English. I had to explain everything to her, and also my sister, who lets me talk to her about space law, and even though she really doesn't have interest in law, so.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to give as an illustration, because of course we have seen several editions and many teams participating to the competition. Indeed, some students like Mr. Velev don't say anything until late in the competition to the family or friends, and even they don't say anything to the family, but really it's a secret. And some others actually, they have the whole university watching on a big screen, and like it happened quite often in South America, for example, in Colombia, in Brazil, they watch it, not in the first match, but when it gets to the later stage. And so you never know how it will be for you as well. And even I can tell you that for one team from Lebanon, they even had a celebration at the graduation ceremony. They were declared world champions, etc. It was for the French competition. Anyway, so you never know again. So many thanks for your session. That was a great, I would say, opportunity to hear you speaking about space law, which I'm sure that you had to explore a lot, because it's not really taught normally in bachelor studies or in early masters. But next time will be international trade law, and of course, and you will know your topic a week in advance. So many thanks, and greetings to you, and as well wish you the best concerning the rest of the week. Thank you, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.